People in organisations are just like you and I, honest, hard-working, want to follow the rules, but for goodness sake, tell me what those rules are. How can you expect me to do what you want me to do unless you've told me? Why do cars have brakes? That is my beloved 1954 R-Type Bentley, the love of my life. You will notice that she was registered in Pembrokeshire in 1954. So the love of my life was born in Wales. That's my only connection, I'm afraid, with Wales, but to me it's a very dear one. But why do cars have brakes? Now, this is an old one. This has been going around the circuit for a long time now, but it's still a very good question to ask your bosses. Why do cars have brakes? Why do cars have brakes? It's to make them stop. Wrong. It's to make the car go faster. Imagine a car with no brakes, you can't use it. Which cars have the best brakes? The Formula One cars. A company with good security, a company with good fraud prevention, is a company with good brakes. It can go faster, take bigger risks, brake later. I know, it's really corny, but I've got to tell you, it works. Business managers aren't that bright, really. They have very low attention spans, and they like little sound bites. Don't be afraid to use them. These are all free. We were privileged to be involved in the DTI. BERR is DTI, as we all know it. Every 2 years they do a survey of all security breaches across the whole of industry, small, large, all sectors. Fascinating. It's sponsored by PricewaterhouseCoopers, Symantec, HP, and the security company. By Rutland Water is the village of Whitwell. It's a pub, 3 houses and a church. And as you drive through Whitwell, it says, Whitwell, twinned with Paris. They wrote off to the mayor of Paris and said, can we twin with you? And they didn't check, and they said, of course you can. So this little tiny village goes over once a year, and they have lunch in the Lord Mayor of Paris's digs, whatever they are. And then every year the Lord Mayor of Paris comes over with all his troops, and they put a tent up on the village cricket green. So Whitwell twinned with Paris, the security company twinned with Hewlett-Packard and all the rest of them. It's great, I love it. There's 22 of us working out of a barn. You can't get better than that. But we did this survey, and it was fascinating. And I'm just going to share it with you. Most organizations depend on IT. Everybody believes their board gives a high or very high priority to information security. I just want to imagine the question. So, excuse me, Managing Director, do you give importance to information security? Nah. It's not going to happen, is it? Of course they're going to say yes. 77C protected customer data is important. Can you imagine that one? Do you think protecting your customer information is important? Nah, not really. Could give a toss. They're never going to say it. So of course it's going to be a yes. And it gets worse. They're giving all sorts of services to their troops. I don't really understand half of them. I'm sure most bosses don't understand voice over IP telephony. And then you say to them, are you making your staff aware of the dangers? All the dangers we've heard about over the last sort of 6 or 7 hours. Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, they're not. Now, I have a room full here of people who presumably are interested in or connected with security and fraud prevention in some bizarre and yeah, agreed, this is why we're all here. For those that are here for the wrong reasons, then your conference is in Cardiff. But, okay, how do you make your staff aware of all of this? First one, staff handbook. How many people in this room have seen their staff handbook? How many people in this room, their companies have got a staff handbook? You have. When did you get it, sir? When you joined, presumably? Could you put your hands on it now if you had to? No, of course not. But that's the primary way that we communicate. Via a specific leaflet or document. Can anybody think what one of those might be? Have you seen one? Can you remember what was in it? Absolutely not. Through their contract or letter of appointment, can you recall seeing anything in there that says you have to be secure in all these different ways, and if not, this is what's going to happen? I'm guessing not. And, you know, if you did, could you remember what it was? How long ago was it that you signed it? You take my point. This is what the answer to the survey is that gives everybody a warm feeling that we're on top of this problem. On joining or at induction, who had any sort of security or fraud prevention training when they joined? It might have been some computer-based look at it. I mean, this is awful because this is what our bosses are telling the DTI is how they're communicating, and it's simply not happening. So far, we've got virtually zero communication through face-to-face training or presentations. Any of that been going on? Got some responses to that? Oh dear, this is worse than I thought. Through computer-based training. Who does computer-based training? We've got a response. Right, my point is two. My point is, I happen to think that computer-based training is rubbish anyway, but that's another view. My point is here that we are security professionals, we should be looking out for this anyway, and none of us have seen any of the ways in which we are told we are being communicated with. So the answer is that no one's getting told anything, and then we wonder why there are security breaches. They've all got documented security policies, fantastic, multi-faction, implemented BSO. It's just awful because the emperor's got no clothes on. It isn't happening. What we are being led to believe as being true is simply not happening. And as a result, we've stuck our heads in the sand. The emperor's got no clothes on. I'm sorry, but things are getting worse. 2/3 of companies increased their spending in 2007 on security. That's in the report. 7% of your IT budget goes on IT security. But it's just getting worse the whole time. ID theft, credit card fraud, system penetration, social engineering, employee abuse, it's all getting worse. So I'm the boss. I'm spending 7% of my budget, IT budget, on all of this, and the situation's getting worse. And when I say to my IT manager or my security manager, is it all right? Another thing I learned many years ago is that bad news only ever travels downwards. It never travels upwards. Everything all right, blogs? Oh, yes, sir. You under control there, blogs? Oh, yes, sir. Everything's fine, sir. And it simply isn't. We have reaction not